So this is paper 2, section 8. I have already sent the notes, right? You can have a look later on. This is this I have copied this from the syllabus itself. Okay, what do we need to learn from the syllabus? Now, so let's see about Brahman. Who is this Brahman, right? So Brahman, is the central theme of everything. In every scripture, the central theme is Brahman himself. We discuss many things like we need to do good stuff, we need to help, we need to share, we need to learn. We need to do all these things for what purpose? Of course, we say to get moksha. Okay. So getting moksha means to reach that supreme, to merge with that supreme, which we call Brahman, right? So that's why we say Brahman is the central theme of all Upanishads, of all scriptures, you can say, right? Now this Brahman, whom we call God, right? Brahman, we can't really describe him. That's why we say he is indescribable. Maybe we can say, oh, he's great, he's omnipotent, he's omnipresent, he's omniscient, but yet we can't really bind him within our words. No? He's far more than that. So, quelque part, still we try to write about him. You can write indescribable, he is omnipresent, he is the first, he is eternal, he has no beginning, no end. Okay, and he is the cause of everything. That is, he is the creator, and he himself, he preserves and he destroys, right? This is what we know about Brahman. So the Upanishads describe him as the one and indivisible. He is one, okay? He is eternal. He is present in all. He is present in everything. In the Mundaka Upanishad, here is a quote from the Mundaka Upanishad, which we can write about. You can quote that, or if you have all the verses as well, you can quote in your work. So Mundaka Upanishad says, imperishable is the Lord of love. As from a blazing fire, thousands of sparks leap forth. Like he is the blazing fire, and from him we have thousands of sparks. Qui lui fait nous comprend how in the suktas, remember the Nasatya Sukta, the Purusha Sukta, how the process of creation has been described. We all come from him, right? So millions of beings arise from him and return to him. He is the source, we have come from him. And when we say we have to get moksha, that is, we need to return to him, to the supreme, to the Brahman. Right? So this is from the Mundaka. From the Katha Upanishad, it has been said, in his robe are woven heaven and earth, mind, body, etc. They continue actually. C'est-à-dire, they create all these things, no? The earth, the heaven, the mind, the planets, everything. He is the bridge from death to a deathless life. Deathless life. Deathless vidya, when the state of moksha, the state of liberation, is called the deathless life, where we become immortal. So he is that bridge. Brahman is that bridge. From the mortal world, nous arrive un point que nous gain liberation. God is that bridge, right? Now, see this. The Brahman of the Upanishads is not meant for the ordinary or the ignorant souls, right? Those who are ignorant, of course, we can't reach him through ignorance. We'll have to be knowledgeable. We'll have to be practicing what we have learned, right? Discipline should be there to reach him. Determination, guidance. Guidance can be from a guru or anything, or bien from the scriptures. Purity of mind, mastery of the senses, self-control, desireless actions. Okay, c'est-à-dire quand nous faisons une action without having expectations, right? So we need to have all these things to reach the Brahman, right? It's not an easy stuff to reach the Brahman, especially if we are ordinary souls. When we say ordinary souls, it doesn't mean we're not superior souls and all, no. Ordinary souls will mean those who are still ignorant, right? Those who are still involved in the material world, right? So when we live as such, so involved in materialism, we cannot reach him, we cannot attain him. Par contre, this is the aim of life, no? To attain God. The Brahman of the Upanishad is more appealing to the seekers of truth and knowledge than seekers of material gains. We have two categories of people here, we can say. Those who are spiritualists and those who are materialists. If we are so materialist, totally materialist, that our aim of life is only material gain, we shall not reach him. The Brahman n'est pas appeal to such people. Par contre, if we are spiritualists, we are seekers of truth, we are seekers of knowledge, like maybe Nachiketa, you can take examples like Nachiketa. Okay, if we are such a person, we'll definitely reach him. During the Islamic rule, yes, in India, okay, during the Islamic rule where the Muslims, they invaded India and they were ruling there, when the principles of monotheism challenged the very foundations of Hinduism, you know, the Islam actually preach monotheism, worshipping of the supreme, only one supreme God. They don't do polytheism. Polytheism veut dire que nous prions différentes formes of God. But Islam pratique monotheism. So when we had the Islamic rule in India, so this Islamic rule challenged the foundations of Hinduism, parce que Hinduism believes and practices polytheism. Il y a différents sectes, différents démons de prier, différentes forms of God. Though the gods, the different forms of God, they are one. To say one God, but we pray him, people pray him according to their likings, according to what they, bien sûr, they like. Maybe someone will like the form of Krishna, other the form of Buddha or Shiv, like that, no? So Brahman was never brought to the glare of public debate to challenge the invading and overwhelming ideas of the monotheistic foreign theology. So when there was the Islamic rule, people were not debating publicly about this issue. Well, not really issue, but about this fact que Hinduism is polytheistic, right? Then came, if you're going to study the history there, then came a time where people were converting, which is a conversion. Hindus were converting to Islam, Hindus were converting to maybe Christianity as well, right? So then came a time we had so many problems, conversion, right? And certain people were no more believing in God as well, right? Then we had the Bhakti movement, which cropped up. Bhakti movement started in the southern part of India, right? So the Bhakti movement, well, nothing new in the Bhakti movement. Bhakti movement, c'est juste comme si some priests, some sages, some poets, some people together, they merged together to work together to make people realize what is the importance of bhakti and how should they be performing bhakti. That was the thing, that was the aim of the bhakti movement. So the bhakti movement started in the Dravid land. I put it here. Started in the Dravid land, which we call the south of India. And those who started this, they were known as the Alvars. We have 12 Alvars. Right? They started. Maybe you have seen Tamilian's temple, no? Qui nous appelle Coville. You have seen maybe. Ban fait beaucoup ban sculptures, kinds of gods, kinds of sages, close at ban temple, no? Parmi in ban 12 alvars. Because these people, they worked to revive Hinduism. The people who were no more believing in Brahman, in Hinduism, in God, these people, the Alvars, they worked to make the people realize Brahman, to help them to, right, to realize Brahman. Donc, I was saying that the Bhakti movement started in the south of India, then later to reach the north of India. In the north of India, we have Surdas, Tulsidas, who has written the Ramcharitmanas. We have Namdev, we have Kabir Das. Okay, nous avons aussi the founder of SCON, the Srimad, the Prabhupada. Tout ça là, ça forme partie de Bhakti movement. But these names which are just mentioned là, ça c'était from the north of India. And these people, the Arvas, they were from the south. But the Bhakti movement itself started in the south and later propagated throughout India, right? So my point here was these people, they worked to uplift, to revive Bhakti, right? Bien sûr, why are they doing so? As I say, the situation of the Hindu society, I'm not saying Indian, Hindu society where there was conversion, people were becoming atheist. There were so many, ritualistic practices being done, right? So then the Bhakti movement started. It is said that the Bhakti movement started even in the 5th century AD. Commencé par Banna, the Alvars, 5th century AD. jusqu'à l'in propagate doucement, doucement, arrive even 15e, 16e, 17e century to the north. Then Shankaracharya as well, part of this bhakti movement, right? But all these things which I told you, they are not here in the notes, but for while explaining, I just, put in things here. So this will be helpful. Right, so there was the revival of the Hindu society through the Bhakti movement. Brahman, the godland. Brahman was somehow not made the center of direct worship in the form of Brahman. When the Alvars, they were propagating the Bhakti movement, they were not aiming to worship the Brahman. Comme dit Brahman, c'est-à-dire the formless aspect, the formless aspect of God. This is what we mean by Brahman, the formless aspect of God. You will see the Bhakti movement, the pas worship formless aspect. Majority comme ça. Get ISKCON. ISKCON priait Krishna as the major deity. We have Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya in focus and the formless aspect of God, but even in other forms of God, especially in the forms of Vishnu, right? So these Alvars, when they started the Bhakti movement, their aim was not worshipping the formless God, but worshipping the personal God. Personal God, with their God having a name and a form. And most of the time, the majority worship the forms of Lord Vishnu. Majority, okay? Maybe Vithala, Ranganatha, Vishnu himself, Ram, Krishna, right? In these forms, they were praying Vishnu, right? So you see, from the very beginning of Sanatan Dharma of this religion, people were worshipping the Brahman, no? Kinunjali, omnipresently, omnipotently, formless, etc. And then later there were problems and all in the society. Then the sages, the Alvars, the people from the Bhakti movement, they came up with the idea of encouraging people to worship deities, to worship forms of God, right? Well, that does not mean that these people were wrong. Of course, they were not wrong, because they are still worshiping God. Don't forget, there is only one God, as we always say. There's only one God, but the God has many names and many forms. That is why I've written here Nirgun and Sagun. Nirgun means the formless aspect of God, and Sagun, Vidya, he has a form, right? So it's up to us, it's up to the people, of course, what they want to worship, whether the Nirgun or the Sagun. Ça n'a pas fait aucune différence, actually. So this is another thing que in the path of spirituality, that we are worshipping idols, many forms, but there should be a time in spirituality where we can detach ourselves from the forms of God. That should come, actually. Parce que comme on dit, for example, I love to pray Shiv, let's say. I like praying Shiv. That's fine. He's God, he's a form of God. I like to pray Shiv. But Kamadia, I like to pray Shiv. I have a particular attachment to that form of Shiv. Quand je vous dis à moi, pense God, for example, the first thing will come to my mind is Shiv. This is attachment to the form, right? So in spirituality, it comes like we have to detach it slowly, no? We can't detach just in one day. It does not happen. Unless in a very much elevated soul, that is something else. But it doesn't happen, right? Like this. We need to practice detachment. So we worship the form of God, then slowly we detach from the form of God that we are worshiping, and we start focusing, meditating upon the formless. This is how it should be. Normally, quand nous pécons bhakti, normally, lower level of bhakti and higher level of bhakti. Lower level of bhakti is worshipping the deities, doing rituals, especially. In Azimuth, it fait two quality rituals. Understanding it or not, they do the rituals, right? It's not wrong, parce qu'il nous dit non que instead que la personne n'a pas prié, n'a pas fait non, n'a pas fait non, good, at least il peut faire something. No, the rituals. But you know, too many rituals we see is not correct. In the Upanishad, it has been said that rituals becomes an unstable boat, right? The unstable boat. Quand nous peut faire un ritual, what is more important behind doing the ritual is, premièrement, understanding of the ritual. Right? Understanding of the ritual. Understanding of ritual, that is, to la prière qu'il est pour mention, the priest, we should be understanding that. And if ever we are doing a certain kind of ritual, why are we doing it? What is the significance behind it? Et deuxièmement, what is important? C'est focus. Concentrating on what we are doing. By experience, I can tell you most of the time when we do rituals, Durga Puja, when you find Durga Puja chez nous at home, you will start thinking, ma famille invini, est-ce que ma famille mange, ou peut trouver le canapé, mais aussi peut sortir puis aller, est-ce qu'il mange? You know, things like that happen. It's true, it happened. So then there's no concentration. There's no 100% devotion. There's no 100% determination there. And no 100% concentration. Right? Well, that is definitely not part of what in the notes here, but just to tell you all these things. I was just telling you, Mundaka Upanishad, it has been said that rituals are unsafe rafts for crossing the sea of worldly life of birth and death. Doomed to shipwreck are they who try to cross the sea of worldly life on these two rafts. So these are rafts, they are like boats which are very unsafe to travel, these rituals, right? So Kumanindia, a lower form of devotion, right? That is why we say that we need to progress, no? Nous devons évoluer aussi. We must not stick to that lower level of knowledge, lower level of devotion. The higher level of devotion, c'est quoi? We don't need any object to connect to the Supreme. Comme on peut prier Shiv, let's say. Shiv is the object through which I can communicate. In a Shivling, on peut vide de l'eau. He is the object. I'm praying, communicating to God, to Him, to the Supreme. But the upper form, the higher form of devotion, I don't need that object. I connect directly to the Supreme. This is how it is. Bien sûr, we are not so elevated souls. Bon, peut-être, and I'm not denying it, but if let's say generally we are not so elevated souls, maybe we cannot connect directly to the Supreme doing meditation like that. So the lower level of devotion helps here. Nous comme si when you have to go upstairs, okay, from first step, nous pas aller directement au 5e step, là, au 10e step. We always go step by step, 1, 2, 3, like that. Devotion, spirituality also is the same thing. We can't rush. Si nous rush, bien sûr, nous allons tomber. That is obvious. Nothing will happen. Nothing good will happen. So we start through the lower level of devotion, nous évoluer jusqu'à nous arrive the highest form of devotion. Nous pas besoin aucun object of worship. Pour bandi moun qui pratique the higher level of devotion, you will notice that they don't do rituals. Rituals do not become important for them at that time. Peut-être je carve un altar and temple aussi dans la case. This is the highest level of devotion, right? So through this devotion, bien sûr, we need to reach the Brahman. As we said, he is the bridge, no? To lead us towards the liberation, to lead us towards liberation. Yeah. Let's see a bit the nature of Brahman. Bien sûr, as I told you, you already know that, but let's see with certain quotes. Here you should learn certain of the quotations, which is easy to learn. Mundaka Upanishad. Zoparapeli is written here, no problem. You just say in the Mundaka Upanishad, it has been said that rituals are like unsafe boats, for example. Right? You write simple words in your own words, that will be fine. Pouvi ou capable refer to the scriptures. Okay. So there will be here in this dans sa document là, il y a beaucoup de quotes, tout ça. Get ou qui ou capable apprendre, easier for you. So let's see, Brahman is above all gods. None could ever approach him closely except Indra. Now, don't forget, Ekam Sad Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. Right? God is one, but he has taken many forms. We worship him in many forms. Why did he take these different forms? I guess we have discussed about it. We take our own example. You are all the person you are, right? Your name and the person you are. At home, you are a daughter, you are a son, you are a citizen of the country, you are a student at school, you are a friend, you can be a wife, a husband, we can be a friend of someone, we can be a guide of someone. We have so many roles to play. But you are one person, no, with different roles. The way you act at home, you don't act like this at school. Be pareil for God. God has many work to do, kind of course, many work to do. So he has taken different forms as per those work. Fait comme si un scavenger. Example, scavenger, pour nettoyer on the road le matin. Il n'est pas pour mettre son costume, il pour nettoyer, non. Il pour mettre sur what is needed for the scavenger, il pour take the tools, what are needed, non. C'est qui est important. Quand il pour aller mariage à Sterling, il peut mettre un costume, il peut aller. So he has different roles to play. God also is like that. He is one, but he takes many forms and many names to do a particular work. Like if you just take the example of Trinity. Trinity means Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiv. Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the preserver, Shiv is the destroyer. Does this mean that they are all different gods? No, they are one, but they have taken, Brahman has taken these different forms. Likewise, he has taken different forms like Indra, Agni, Varun, right? To do the work needed. Souvent, des fois, on appelle ça même demigods, the Indra, Agni, Varun, tout ça, the demigods. And ou bien nous avons appelé les deities aussi. Yeah. Quand on dit deities ou bien demigods, we are referring to these, right? Now, Indra is the god of heaven. Indra is the god of gods. Basically, the god of heaven, we know as to be the god of gods, right? Il comme c'est une hiérarchie, non? Une compagnie comme si. Nous pouvons un CEO, nous pouvons un board of directors, nous pouvons un head of departments, nous pouvons un employers, tout ça, non? Après, nous pouvons un club, un other messenger, tout ça. C'est pareil. This is an episode in the Kena Upanishad. I'll just relate to you how it is, the story in the Kena Upanishad. In the Kena Upanishad, we say there was a spirit. God has taken, Brahman has taken the form of a spirit. But now the demigods, Kinvina, Indra, Agni, Varun, and many other demigods, they had a fight with demons and they won the fight. Of course, God definitely will win at the end. They won the fight and they were rejoicing. They were enjoying their victory. And when they were enjoying their victory, it is said that they forgot to be thankful and grateful to God, to the Supreme, right? And God, Brahman, decided to teach them a lesson of humility. Tout ce qui est arrivé dans la vie, c'est pas nous qui pouvons faire ça, actually. We need to be grateful to God. Let's say we have a home to stay. We are getting food to eat. We need to be grateful each time, each day to God. So these demigods, they were not grateful at all. They were enjoying the Brahman, God, Brahman, took the form of a spirit. Now, when the demigods saw that spirit, they wanted to know the identity of that spirit. They were so engrossed, involved in their enjoyment that they could not realize this is Brahman in the form of spirit. C'est carrément comment nous faire dans la vie. No? At times when we are happy, we forget God. We tend to forget maybe what the good things people have done to us, for us. At times it happened to people, right? C'est exactly un scénario qui nous trouvait dans la vie. So then Agni and Varun, they went to know the identity of the spirit, but they could not because they were showing arrogance. And then Indra went later to try to know the identity of the deity or of the spirit, But when Indra was going, the spirit disappeared. And then Indra continued his way. Il n'a pas arrêté. Continued his way, and he met Uma. Uma, lui-même nous dire Uma Hemavati, ou bien Parvati, n'importe comment, ou bien even Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, tout ça c'est un seul. So he met Uma, and Uma told him the identity of the spirit, told him that that spirit was Brahman himself, right? So through the story, ça c'est une petite histoire bien sûr, but through the story, what we learn, At times we get victory in life, we enjoy, we forget about God, we forget to be grateful to God, we forget to be grateful to people for whatever good they have done to us ou bien for us. And at times when we are on the path of spirituality, when we are on the good path, souvent des fois nous pouvons get obstacles in our life. Like Indra, he was going to know he wanted to know the identity of that Brahman, but he could not. Brahman disappeared, the spirit disappeared. So there was an obstacle. But yet Indra did not give up. Dans la vie, il y a un obstacle. We should not give up. When we do not give up, there will always someone who will come to help us, to guide us towards our aim, where we are going, our aim of life, the aim of our journey. Pareil comment Uma helped Indra, right? So if ever you are writing this, do mention how you can relate this to your life, to our life, right? So these were about the demigods. Maintenant, again, if we need to continue to describe God, let's see.